What's up, everyone? It's Carrie, aka Nerdygirlcreates. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, so you know what that means. It's time to take a look at some manga on Manga Monday. And today we are going to go back into the macabre, and we are going to take a look at the latest release from the master, Junji Ito. Today, we're looking at Black Paradox. So does it stand up to the likes of legends as Uzumaki, or is this, a mediocre tale at best? We'll find out, but first, before we get into that, I want to remind everybody we are this close to 600 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please go ahead, subscribe. Don't forget to like and share this video. Also, if you want some information about some manga, stay tuned to the end of this video, because I have some deals for you. It's the holidays, and who doesn't want deals for the holidays? Okay, so Black Paradox, this tackles a very touchy subject. So if you are triggered by stuff such as suicide, self-harm, or anything like that, you don't want this story, okay? You don't want to read it, because suicide is the main focus of the story. It focuses around 4 individuals who meet on a website for people who are looking to commit suicide. And these 4 people don't want to do it by themselves, so they meet each other and they agree on a place they want to do it, how they want to do it, and they head out to the secluded area, and before they can actually go through it, something unusual happens. And it starts to set off a course of, like, weirdness. Like, weirdness that even I have to say for Junji Ito is, like, yeah, it is weird. So first we're going to talk about my favorite thing, art, and of course, once again, Mr. Ito brings the macabre in his art. His designs are very terrifying. If you saw my review on Uzumaki, I talked about, like, how he can make something as simple as a spiral scary. In this, it has to do with, an unusual object, once again, of glowing balls. I am not kidding. And where they come from, and I don't want to really get too much into that because that will take us into spoiler territory. And if you want to read this, it's best I don't talk about that. But he does these very, like, highly detailed, grotesque scenery. There's one character in here, Bara. She is she wants to commit suicide because of a deformity on one side of her face. And, like, when you finally get to see her face, he goes into full detail on just exactly how horrifying her face is. It's even in his facial expressions on characters. You probably see me talk a lot about facial expressions. I really like when an artist can bring to life the emotion in somebody's eyes without having to really express words. Like, you know what's happening just looking at them. There are times where I read some manga series and it's kind of, like, very plain and more cartoony, but the expression in these characters' eyes over the fear that they're experiencing and the horror that they're witnessing, even the moments of sadness, he does such great detailing in the art. Again, the scenery is always very, like, dark, and yes, I know with manga, it's always in black and white, but he uses that to his advantage. It's always pretty much, like, almost Tim Burton-esque kind of, like, environment. Even something as simple as being in the mist of Tokyo can come off to be very, like, terrifying or morbid, and he just, like, he creates that atmosphere with his art, to show you exactly, like, even the trees at times, either they're almost lifeless with no leaves, or they look very, like, disformed. It's like little details. If you really focus on the background of his scenery, it's pretty amazing. Now, as for the story, I was mentioning this is based around suicide, and it focuses on 4 characters. Your first character is Miss Kikuchi. She is stricken by paranoia and premonitions of the future. She wants to die so she doesn't experience these horrific events she's foreseeing. She's a nurse too, which also comes into play in certain aspects of this. Then you have a greedy man named Mr. Karasi, who, after he meets his doppelganger, and I have to tell you, I keep making jokes about this on social media, he looks like Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. Okay? The way he's drawn, he looks just like, with the black suit and tie. He knows of a myth where if you see your doppelganger, that means death is upon you. So he's decided he's going to kill himself before death can come for him. Then you have Mr. Hondo, who is this very melancholy individual. He was used as a model to create a human-like robot, but this robot ended up surpassing him in every way and ended up giving him a complex, and he didn't want to live anymore because he felt like he was no longer necessary thanks to this robot's existence. Then, like I mentioned earlier, you have Bara, who was disfigured with this really grotesque birthmark on one side of her face, and she believes that reflection comes to life. Again, all this really weird stuff starts to come into play. Their suicide attempt doesn't pan out because unforeseen forces come in and interrupt it. And it leads it into this weird path that involves these balls, which again, I can't give too much details about because it'll ruin the story for those of you who haven't read it. But compared to what I've read so far from Junji Ito, I have to say, I don't think this is his best. Because, for example, with Uzumaki, you kind of got a reveal as time went on like what was happening and what was taking place and how horrific it was getting and how the foreseeable future was doomed. There was like a revelation about what was going on. I kind of feel like there wasn't really a revelation much with this, and I kind of, there's a little glimpse of why the suicide attempts connect with it, but not really. Overall, I think it is a story about trying to teach something about caution with suicide, because if anything, if you know about the state in Japan, suicide is very high there. Same in some other Asian countries. So I don't know if he was trying to, with this, relay like how much more horrific it would be to take your own life. What would be waiting for you on the other side. And truthfully, these characters don't really get to fully go through with it. And again, I don't want to go into more. So it's kind of like really hard to see what the connection is, at least for me. The balls do represent something. Again, not going to say what. But the ending is kind of like, huh? Like, I really didn't get where he was trying to go with this ending. Uzumaki, yes, that was the overall ending, because if you followed the story and what they researched and found out about in the past, it made sense for that ending to come about. This kind of is weird. I'm trying to like figure out what the fate was of these characters in the end, and it was a little bit like, okay, I had to keep going back and rereading stuff to try to figure out what I might have missed. It could have been me. Maybe I was just not in the right state of mind when reading it, but I was just not really grasping what was the overall concept outside of them getting the opposite of what they wanted in the end. And it's really hard to explain without going into spoilers, but I just don't think it was his best. It doesn't run as long as Uzumaki and some of his other stories. It is a full story. It's not a short tale. But I kind of feel like there was some things missing in trying to build up this story. I would have liked a little bit more explanation, a little bit more details in how this scenario came to be. The characters, outside of, I would say, Miss Kikuchi and maybe Bara, were the only ones who were really likable. Everybody else was kind of like, you're annoyed with as hell, so you didn't have any attachment to them like you did with the main characters over in Uzumaki. Mr. Kuroso, he is just an ass. Mr. Hodo is very, like I said, melancholy. He's kind of like useless. He's just given into the fact that he's worthless. You kind of have a hard time attaching to the characters. You don't feel sympathy for most of them, especially when the end result comes. You're kind of like, okay. There's another character who also comes into play, who takes advantage of the situation, and again, he's somebody else you just don't really like, so some of them do get, like, their comeuppings, as you could say, but I don't know, like, in the end, I kind of felt like it wasn't really fulfilling. It really wasn't the kind of ending I would have expected for this. And again, like I said, it's not his best. Would I recommend it? I mean, yeah, if you want to check it out, I would say check it out. I just, maybe there's something I'm missing you'll catch that I'm not seeing. I don't know. His art, once again, if you really like that grotesque, macabre style, he delivers on that. Story is where I think this is very weak. But that is Black Paradox from Junji Ito. It's available now. It released just a few months back. I got it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it at different places. But right now, because it is the holidays, I will recommend Right Stuf Anime. They are having a huge holiday sale. I have an affiliate link down below. So if you want to check out what they got going on, please use my link. And I know when their holiday sale comes, you're going to really want to jump on that because they usually have some great bundles. And I do recommend Right Stuf Anime. Now, I also want to remind everybody, Tuesday nights is Otaku Tuesdays. Last week was a little bit of a... We finally got back on the air, but it was a little bit of a mess, thanks to me. But hopefully this time it'll be a little bit more organized, and hopefully... It's chaotic, what can I say? It's just us, but it's always fun. So come join us for Otaku Tuesdays. I will also be having a couple more videos this week, so stay tuned for those. And holidays are coming up. I am planning some big things for 2023. You know I review manga, but I really want to start doing more manhwa. If you don't know what manhwa is, it is South Korean webtoons, comics. Most of the time they're more in color. I've done a couple before on here, such as Breaker and Solo Leveling, which I would recommend checking out. But for now, stay tuned. Like I said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you have any suggestions, please go ahead and comment down below. I love reading your comments, guys, so if you got any, I would really appreciate if you post them. All right. I will see you on the next video, but for now, have a good night. Bye.